The information provided on this podcast is intended to be educational and informational only and is not considered to be formal legal advice. The listener should not take or refrain from taking action based on its content. Any listener in need of legal opinion upon which to rely in decision-making should consider formally engaging an attorney to review relevant facts in detail and examine the pertinent law as it applies to those facts.
This is Mo Bina of High Rise Capital, and you're tuned into Dream Chasers, interviews with the future.
Even like speaking from a nurse perspective of like, you know, if I were a third party, like looking at this in third person and being like, what do I want you to do if you're like my client or patient or whatever? There are so many things that we've been forced to have to do that are the opposite of the epitome of health.
And now, a word from our sponsor, High Rise Capital. High Rise Capital is a boutique commercial real estate investment firm that helps high-income professionals, high-net-worth individuals, and family offices obtain above-average returns with reduced volatility and tax efficiency from high-quality commercial real estate investments. High Rise Capital helps clients achieve meaningful investment returns, generate multiple streams of income, and participate in investments that enhance lives and provide a tangible societal benefit. To learn more about High Rise Capital, please visit their website and download their free ebook, More Doors, More Profits, both of which you can find in the show notes. Thank you.
This is Dream Chasers, episode 162 with Travis Day.
Hey guys, hi Grandma. This is Adam Carswell, and welcome to Dream Chasers, interviews with the future. On Dream Chasers, we bring next level talent to the light. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get straight to the interview. Hello and welcome to episode 162 of Dream Chasers, interviews with the future. I'm your host, Adam Carswell, and today we are joined by someone who's making their, podcasting debut, I guess we could say, even Zoom debut, which is very impressive. And even more of a reason that we're pumped to have him here, ladies and gentlemen. So we have Travis Day on the line with us, and Travis, we'll say he's a medical professional. Travis, if you want to talk a little bit about more what you do, you can definitely get into that. But just to kind of give you guys some context here, Nikki, my fiance, she is also in the medical field. Travis has been posting some very insightful information on his Instagram for the past, probably I'm guessing for at least the past year, Travis. And you guys will find out what I'm talking about here in a second if whatever the title is didn't already give it away. So anyways, Travis, happy to have you here. Any opening remarks for our listeners?
Thank you, man. Like you said, it's the debut. It's exciting, but I guess like we said beforehand, I guess I'm privileged in a way that I haven't had to deal with Zoom, being in healthcare and all. You know, I've been able to go to work, so that's a good place to start. You know, I'm a registered nurse. So I've been out of school now about 4 years, working pretty much full time for the full 4 years. I'm just going to preface this by saying that obviously I am a nurse, but, you know, I'm not obviously speaking on behalf of any organization or anything here today. This is a conversation between us and like-minded individuals. And, you know, obviously I still work as a nurse, but I'm not speaking on behalf of any organization, right? These are just my opinions, my points of view, and we'll leave it at that, I guess.
All right. Yeah, we're going to uncover some truth today, and you know we're all about seeking truth here on Dream Chasers as well. And you guys, you know, for those of you who aren't up to speed, I mean, I live in Newfoundland, Canada now, St. John's to be specific, and so does Travis. This is where we both hang our hats. And one of the first things I noticed about Travis, where I'm like, man, we got to get this guy on the show, is one, just the fearlessness and the courage that he possesses, because based on the last year that we've all lived through, a little more than a year now, everyone knows there are certain places in North America that are open to more do what you want but be responsible ways of thinking, and then there's other places where you live where it's basically this is what the government says, do it or else you are either considered stupid, an outcast, or someone who has a problem. And so I'm not going to name specific jurisdictions right for now, but I think we all know, like, the more freedom focused with the true principles of liberty and freedom places in the world. And to come across someone like Travis in the middle of Canada, who if you love freedom, I'm sorry, if you're from Canada and you love freedom, or you want to come visit, like everyone knows, it's not a free place to live right now in many regards. Like you can hardly even get in the country. So to find someone like Travis who's not afraid to stand up and speak his mind based on, there's like the stuff that this guy is saying, anyone's just gonna just not, it's un-Canadian. Or no, that's not the right way to put it. But like, dude, you're one of a kind, man. I love it.
Yeah, you got it, man.
I've been looking for you, and I'm sure there's some other people from this country here like you. But anyways, I think that's a pretty solid intro there. So yeah, I mean, let's start from square one before we start unpacking this. I mean, tell us about your childhood, what it's been like for you growing up in Canada and Newfoundland in particular, and how you got to where you're at.
Sure, man. I'll keep it kind of brief. Again, I love your podcast you had with Spencer Hilligoss. He talked about authenticity and, the story of a person, and how, kind of his career, his reach has been better based on that authentic perspective. So I guess just a bit of my story. I grew up with a single mother. My mother is my biggest inspiration ever. She's my rock. My father, just not to go too deep, but anyway, just it's an important part of my story. So again, I'm being fully authentic here. So my father passed away when I was just 18 months old in a boating accident. So my mother raised me, and my two grandparents living right across the street. They helped out a lot. My grandfather was obviously the father figure then. So he stepped up big time. He's not with us anymore either. So those two men aren't in my life, but they were huge, growing up in a small community. So I'm in St. John's now, but I grew up in a town with about 4,000 people. So, it's small town vibe. Moved to the city, get a university degree, become a nurse, currently working again full-time as a nurse. So that's the long and short of it, I guess.
Yeah, it's impressive too. We do want to get this, I guess, on record. So for anyone who's not familiar with Newfoundland, go look it up on Google Maps. You'll see, wow, most likely people normally go, wow, I didn't know that was there, including myself before I knew about Newfoundland. And up until I want to say the 1940s or 50s, it actually was not a Canadian province. It is now. So one cool thing that I have found about being here is, Newfoundlanders might be Canadian, but they all know deep down within that they're Newfoundlanders first before they're Canadian too, which is probably where a little bit of this, freedom focused spirit that Travis has within him comes from. But anyways, we had to throw that out there.
Yeah, man, you hit the nail on the head. I think I have a unique perspective just in this province. Like I obviously have a lot of love and heart for Newfoundlanders and this province, and it's very unique, sometimes funny and extreme culture. Most people, again, probably don't even know it exists. So when you really dive into the culture of Newfoundland, it's just something to be celebrated. And I guess to riff on, what is happening in this past year, yes, there's a virus and everything, but I've seen like cultural shifts away from norms that have been part of my life for 20 plus years that are just feel like they've been pulled out like a rug underneath me. And people, I guess maybe across Canada, but I've just noticed again here in Newfoundland that aren't as willing to celebrate certain traditions and certain things. Like it's almost like in a matter of a year through all these measures and everything and restrictions, and people are just, we're known to be a very neighborly province, hospitable province. But now, you look at your neighbor based on the mainstream narrative, you're scared, or, you're worried that they're sick or you're sick or whatever. It's like we're not a nation or a little province that's usually like that. So it's been like this paradigm shift for me, which was just, it's been jarring, and I think that obviously the Newfoundland heart is still there, but it's like it's been nullified. People are not as open, they're not as sociable, they're sometimes at each other's throats, in a grocery store over silly little things like which way somebody's walking. I mean, that's not Newfoundland, and I
Right.
don't know how long you've been here. You've obviously got a taste of the culture and stuff, but that's not how it is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're supposed to be a fun type of people, an understanding group that will take anybody and run with them. You know what I mean? And there's a divide happening right now that troubles me almost to no end.
I didn't even realize that, but you're so right. I mean, what attracted me to this province in the first place is exactly what you're talking about, which is the friendliness, the neighborly attitude, the culture of just, even if you don't know the person, give them a hug, have a beer with them or whatever. Like, that's just, I haven't been to Ireland, but I've heard Ireland's similar as well. And
Right?
so,
Yeah.
that's something I found here in Newfoundland compared to even other parts of Canada that I had not experienced anywhere else in the world. And you're right, that culture has been, I think you used the word nullified, or like kind of pulled out
Right.
from underneath you like a rug. All of a sudden it has kind of gone from Newfoundland to just this new created culture of like, you got to be careful even if you look at someone now.
Yeah, man. It's really muted. It's like, we have a culture and traditions here. Again, I won't get into too much of it, but I don't know if you've heard of mummers, for example. During holiday traditions where people would dress up with ridiculous clothes and holes cut in a hat that's pulled down over their face, and they go around with this stick and knock on people's doors and play music, and especially Christmas time, right? And it's just, even like Halloween, all those things that are social in your neighborhood and community. It's like all of this is just almost like demonized right now. And I get it. Like, if there's a severe pandemic, and at a certain point there were times when things were restricted where maybe it made a little more sense, but there's certain things now that are persisting beyond the realm of what I would call normal, for sure, and that's obvious. And there's all this talk of getting back to normal, but I'm a bit of a pessimist when it comes to that, because I think the precedent has been set here, and how long this has been extended and ongoing, that this cultural shift it's going to last, man. And I feel for the kids probably more than any other population right now. Of like, if you're 6 years old right now and you're masking in school and you're sitting in a circle that's drawn on the floor because Johnny, like 6 feet away, might give you the virus. Like, when you're 12, are you still, pandemic or no pandemic, are you still going to be able to juxtapose yourself in this world where you don't see Johnny as a threat and you can go like wrestle with him on your front lawn, or you know what I mean, or play a sport without being too kind of, I don't know, scared, I guess,
Right.
for lack of a better word. It's like, and again, there's a part of that made a lot of sense at certain points, and especially when it was new and it was early on and that kind of thing. But it's like things just have not changed with the research and with new data and with statistics and that kind of thing. It's like we're just taking this blanket approach that worked a year ago or whatever, we thought it worked and that was the way to do it, and we're still doing it. And not only that, if you go against the grain and you offer a difference of opinion, or an alternative, or like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this anymore, or maybe this isn't the cost benefit ratio of certain things in public health measures. I have never seen anything like this before in my life. Where there's just blanket things applied to everything that restricts everybody, no matter if you're 86 years old or you're young and healthy and you want to play basketball with a friend. It's
Yeah. Okay, let's start having fun. We're gonna get our hands dirty.
yeah, let's do it.
Being fearless is the only way to live. And
Right.
before our call, Travis said, something about in life, you got to pick the hills that you're willing to die on, or something like that. I'm like, dude, yes, absolutely. And the biggest one is being able to just being able to have an open conversation and know that you're not gonna be judged for it. And I think we can all agree right now. I mean, if you aren't someone if you're not going to get this vaccine right now, then most of the world is going to view you as a bad person. And what really blows my mind is for the people that I know that have had COVID and have recovered, by the way. And by the way, I don't know anyone personally who has died. I understand some people may have died from it, but anyone close in my circles that did get it, they got it for 1 or 2 weeks. It was just like the flu. They're fine now. And so for them to be encouraged to go and get something that they already had is still blowing my mind a little bit. There's the stuff coming out about how like some major government organization, I prefer not to say their name anyway, just so it's not like we're already going to get flagged, whatever, right? But I think
Likewise.
it's like the FDA or something said how it's not even approved by them yet. I don't know if it's FDA or whoever. Crazy stuff like that. So and then I know people who've gotten it where it's like, oh yeah, I had a headache for like 3 days and my arm was really sore and this and that, but after a while it was fine. I'm like, okay, cool. You made it through like the tough part, but there's nothing to say that you just injected something into your body that you don't know if it's going to just come alive in 5 years. I don't know. If you want to get it, I mean, get it. But I just am tired of people thinking that if you don't want to go in on this thing that's brand new, then you're the crazy one. I don't know. I've been going against the grain my whole life. That's why I'm in Newfoundland hanging out with you. Go ahead.
That's right, man. I guess, I can riff on that big time because, again, I'm all for medical autonomy is something, and critical thinking. The two words I probably heard most in my 4 years of nursing education was critical thinking. And I'm living in a time right now where if I do that, and then I speak about it from what I thought and my opinions and what I formulated myself, not from what I heard on CNN or whatever else. If I think for myself and I look at something and I post something and I say, this doesn't seem right, I don't agree with this, it's flagged either by fact checkers sometimes that are literally political journalists that are fact checking my post as a medical professional. Or if it happens to be a medical professional, still there's a problem with that because you're flagging something that, let's look at it as colleagues. Let's not have this divisiveness. It doesn't have to be that way, but you're a colleague, you disagree with something. You're going to have doctors, one of them promotes a ketogenic diet, one of them says, don't do that, it's bad for your heart. But you need to be able to have that discussion. You just can't silence one side. So when you're talking about a brand new vaccine that is an invasive medical procedure, again, this is probably going to get a lot of flack from certain people who just want to think a certain way, or they're told one thing and they just run with that. I will do that if the information and the data follows it. And for the most part, yes, it seems that they're safe, but there's a real alarm bell that's for some people just is not being raised, or let's say is not allowed to be raised. Where if a certain governing body, no matter if it's public health or the government or a big tech company, says that you can't say this, and they censor you and take you off the internet or whatever, or delete your post or give you a notification saying your account's going to be deleted. I mean, one specific example I can give, so I'm not just, if someone looks at this and disagrees, says, oh, you're talking out of your ass. Dr. Charles Hoff over in BC, he was an emergency room doctor. He wrote a letter based on, in a small community of Lytton, I guess you would pronounce it. He wrote a letter to the medical officer stating what he has seen based on adverse reactions from a vaccine, Moderna, that he had administered himself. This is an emergency room physician, and he lost his job for that. He can no longer work as an emergency room physician. The only thing he can do is his private practice, which whatever percentage of his work, he's lost a significant portion, but he's still got his private practice. But this was a doctor who spoke out of, raising the alarm bells out of something he administered himself that he didn't feel okay with anymore, because he reports, again, I'm just going by media reports and allegedly from him, that, one of these people had died in a short proximity to the vaccine. And, basically in a lot of these cases, this is the only new variable. It's not like they, had some other new intervention or whatever. So one of them, he reports, had died, and several had developed what he called permanent disabilities lasting, weeks, and if he continues to follow up, he believes will continue to last, permanent disabilities from the Moderna vaccine. So, you turn on the news right now and you'll hear AstraZeneca, and there's fear around that. But again, for a lot of people, there needs to be more costs, like risk benefit analysis, right? Of should I take this thing? What about this person who's one of Dr. Charles Hoff's patients who, developed a life-altering disability? There's multiple reports of anaphylactic responses to certain ingredients. Then
can we actually? I just want to make sure we unpack this and zone on this, because again, you are someone who, let's just validate this again, that you're in the front lines, and not only are you in the front lines, you're the one or probably two people that aren't going with the flow for critical thinking reasons. And so you're about to get into some details here of like specifically why you view this the way you do. And I just want to reiterate, like, you're not just some random guy off the street. Like, you went to school to understand what you're talking about right now.
Yeah. And the crazy part is that I have colleagues that they might listen to these things that I'll talk about in person, or they'll agree with me in person. But no one would ever know their viewpoints other than that, that conversation, that kind of thing. There is a pressure, obviously, not to speak about some of these things, right? Just ask Dr. Charles Hoff if there's, actual censorship happening. I mean, the man lost his job in an emergency room. So, and the other crazy thing is that I actually just noticed this recently in that article. I was rereading it just to kind of validate what he was saying. And the other crazy part is that there's a lot of stuff right now in the mainstream media about, residential schools and these children's bodies that have been found, and this, Canadian racism and that kind of thing. And I just want to point something out here. This doctor, he was administering most of these vaccines to First Nations people.
I guess actually, can you so for our American listeners, because I know I know what you're talking about, but so First Nations, and then also just kind of tell the story about the bodies, because I don't know if everyone in the States knows about it.
Right, and I don't know all the details either, because I've seen a new post recently about how there's more children's bodies being found under these residential school areas. So, and then you're having these searches conducted now, but it's like, okay, we're in 2021. You're looking at how old are these bodies and these poor children, and what did they suffer through? Potentially through racism or negligence or whatever it is. I mean, it's just now we're uncovering that, right? It's a damn shame. And you will see that on the mainstream news. But what bothers me so much about this doctor's case is that he's speaking on behalf of First Nations people, a minority people that he has administered, controversial medical treatment to, and he's speaking out and writing a letter. He's not just going on and just spouting off and being unprofessional. He wrote a letter describing exactly what he witnessed, when, where, who, whatever. He wrote that to the chief medical officer, I believe, in BC, in a community called Lytton, and lost his job. Right, so you juxtapose it too. You've got this investigation now currently being underway and taking steam, with Canadians now being, rightfully pissed off about things that we've possibly done in the past or turned a blind eye to. And you currently, right now, in May, have a doctor that was fired from his job for speaking on behalf of a group of people that were injured at his hand from a product that he is raising an alarm bell on. Tell me there's not actual real censorship happening in the medical field, and that this is somehow not a violation of medical ethics. What the doctor did is part of his ethics. If you give a drug or a procedure and you don't record, and you turn a blind eye and you stay silent when you've seen consistent injury or that one death or the disability, and you just keep giving them That used to be the negligent side. That used to be the violation of health ethics and code and do no harm. Now it seems backwards, where you're almost forced into a corner where if you report that, you will possibly lose your job for doing exactly what you were told you should do in school. That just blows my mind, and I don't know if people are making that connection. So again, I'm a very opinionated person, and I try to draw the dots where I can, but it's a spider web of dots right now. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, well, I don't know if this is misinformation or what's true. It's like, I'm always going to look for the truth. I'm a truth seeker, and I'm going to go with my gut. And like you said, there's hills I will die on, and there's no limit to what I will speak on, because I'm not going to feel silenced if I feel strongly about something.
Right.
You know, as a nurse, I'm going to advocate for my patients. I haven't witnessed anything firsthand in anyone I've cared for that I can draw any connection to. But if you're a doctor that does, and you've given, say, whatever it was, hundreds of these vaccines, I mean, the other crazy thing is that, for example, just with the AstraZeneca, the percentage, they were making these comparisons about the blood clots, you know, 1 in a million, 1 in 100,000, whatever the hell you want to say. This doctor was writing the letter because he saw, what, 6, 7, 8 major serious adverse reactions in a few hundred. Like that is obviously a cause for concern.
Mm-hmm.
He was fired, and in one of the statements about why he lost his job and deserved to lose his job, it was because he was raising vaccine hesitancy.
That's the phrase that we're going with now, huh?
That's what we're going with. Yeah.
Just like social distancing is a new word now, vaccine hesitancy. All right. So, and I actually have, and this is funny, as I mentioned, and I shouldn't say funny, but I know I have people in my circle who have gotten the illness and recovered from it. And then I also have some friends in my circle who know people that got vaccinated. Someone who basically their aunt, someone I know, their aunt got it. And then she died within a couple of weeks, and it seemed like it was a random occurrence. And when they went to do the autopsy, they had asked, did she get this before doing the autopsy? And when they found out she did, they didn't do the autopsy, which is very, like, all right. It's something a lot, you know, I don't, you know what, I might be misquoting it, but it was enough to raise eyebrows the way he told me the story. And I'm like, dude, this is it's not just random. And, I love, you know, talking about being able to just speak your mind and be free. That's how you know that you are a true Newfoundlander, because as they say in the song, I'm free as the wind and the waves that wash the sand. We need a little bit more of that rekindling of the spirit here in Newfoundland.
I think there needs
go ahead.
Sorry, I think there needs to be a spark, not just with Newfoundlanders. Obviously, we have such a unique culture, and we were an outspoken but very hospitable and friendly group. And we still are. I mean, I'm not just bashing on us. Like, obviously, we are a great bunch of people. But what bothers me is again seeing that like nullified, like a bit muted. It's not the same as it was. And you know, I just have so much obviously passion for the type of people we have here, and then to feel like we're silenced into this, you know, muted version of that, or our culture is shifted in a matter of like 18 months. I can't stomach that. Like, you know, it's just too jarring. It's too rapid of a shift. I don't care if it's like, oh, well, it's the modern way or something, you know, and maybe it gives me a unique perspective, being from a small town community and growing up with a lot of, you know, traditional people around me. But it's a sin to see that stuff kind of disintegrate within like 18 months, you know.
Mm-hmm. So the story that you referenced earlier about the First Nations, kind of like the children being discovered now, and this is something that who knows how long ago it happened. I also like to think of this, like, I'm sure when that was taking place, there was probably people that weren't for it and standing up against it. And the reason why we never get to learn about who was trying to save the day back then is because they were probably being censored in the moment too. So I think what you were trying to do is compare situations where it's like anyone who's trying to just seek truth and help people, or at least as though we feel, right? Like there's a disclaimer at the beginning of this show, and we could be completely wrong. Like, come on, like, let's be honest. Anything on this show, you can take it for what it's worth.
Anything said here, you know, could be disproven or whatever. Some of it is my own opinion, that kind of thing. But to not be able to explore, that is the most unscientific thing I've ever seen in my life. You know, and obviously I haven't been a nurse my whole life, but some of this stuff, like the disregard for certain studies because it doesn't fit a narrative, or not changing things as other things change. Little tidbits of information I could throw out there, like examples. One of them being the CDC now has kind of turned pace 180 on the whole, the contact of COVID, for example, your risk of catching it from a surface. I mean, we were being told that you could find this thing on a metal surface. It didn't matter. It was there for a week. You got to scrub everything to death with disinfectant. And now they've turned back, and there's another study that says it's about a 1 in 10,000 chance that you're going to contract COVID from a surface. And because of that, there's an article I read where they're actually wishing that people would use less and less disinfectants and stop, you know, acting like hypochondriacs in terms of cleaning surfaces, because there's an environmental problem comes with that. There's a financial, you know what I mean? It's supply demand. It's like the whole world was scrubbing everything to death, and then it turns out your chance of catching it in that way was like 1 in 10,000, right? And that would probably have to be like someone's saliva literally on a surface. It's not just like, oh, there's a little micron of a virus and it's going to jump into my body, right? It's so there's new things that come out and change, you know, but the whole paradigm of what we've been doing isn't seeming to change much, or at least it's not in Canada. It seems like we're a bit behind the curve. I mean, you look at this thing on a graph in terms of numbers and that kind of thing and statistics, it does follow a seasonal curve. Our numbers now are lower than they've ever been. And I want to throw this out there, that I actually look back at this again today because it just shocks me. And maybe, you know, you'll be shocked and maybe other people will be shocked to hear this. But I try to condense information down rather than looking at a big picture. Sometimes it's good to zoom in. So Newfoundland, for example, in the past 18 months or however long COVID's been going on, roughly 18 months, we've had 7 deaths in this province of 500,000 people, 7, right? Now, every death matters, obviously, you know, but I look back at data before COVID, for example, the 2018, 2019 influenza season in Newfoundland, same population of people, 33 deaths in a year. Wow. So it blows my mind again. I'm not saying that all these measures we're taking aren't helpful, because I'm not going to say necessary, because I don't agree. I don't agree that, you know, for example, mandating a whole bunch of things makes much of a difference, because there's evidence and data now to the contrary. You look at Texas, you look at Florida. Florida has a very high elderly population. They're doing far better than New York that was locked down. You know, obviously there's population density. Texas, you look at them, they're doing better than Ontario was, for example. Ontario had a stay-at-home order for 4,000 cases out of 14 million people. You know, it was deemed too unsafe for you to go to a Walmart where you could buy certain things, but it was unsafe for you to buy clothes. So a pair of socks was roped off with caution tape, but you could go maybe buy food or whatever, because obviously you got to eat. But for you to go into the toy section and buy your child something to play with when they're home and depressed and basically on house arrest, no, that's unsafe, right? You look at Ontario just recently reversed that. They just recently got rid of that tape and let you buy clothes again. The other day, they had 411 new cases. It's down to 200 and something daily now out of 14 million people, and they still have a bunch of restrictions. 411 out of 14 million people, that's 0.00 0.3% of the population infected daily. So you can't buy a pair of socks in Ontario, or you couldn't a week or two ago, because 0.003% of the population got this novel virus that has, let's say, roughly 99.8% survival rate.
Dropping bombs, man.
Make it make sense, Adam. Make it make sense, right?
So, dude, and that's like that's I think I heard the quote. I'm trying to remember. It's like censorship is basically telling a grown man that he can't eat a steak because a baby can't. And you just outlined it there with the 411, or was it 14,000 out of however many million, that small amount affecting how everyone has to now be on house arrest. I mean, guys, like that's what it is. That's what it is. Especially, if you live in Texas or Florida, good for you. And I know my home state, Ohio, just opened things back up. But like, this is jail, where everyone just got put in jail by an authority figure that thinks they know what's better for us. They don't think that we're responsible enough to take care of ourselves, which we all are innately as humans. Right. And I'd always want to bring this to light, and I don't think I've actually had a chance to on the show, so thank you, Travis. But if you if everyone just takes a look, type in Google or wherever government, and look at how that word is spelled. If you know anything about Latin, govern means to control, and it might not be an even, mente means mind. We're bowing down to mind control, ladies and gentlemen. Well, at least some of us. And if you're listening to Dream Chasers and you're feeling me right now, let's go. So anyways, do you have any more? I love getting into the stats, because that's where that's kind of like where I can lack sometimes, based on I go off like how I feel, right? But you've got some things here that really help.
I guess the problem is, when too many people like myself, if you're willing to speak out and use your voice and be opinionated and whatever, I think anybody should have that right. I mean, literally, unless you're like calling for violence or something, like the big tech and government being able to tell you what you can and cannot say, or Dr. Charles Hoff losing his job for writing a letter of concern. I mean, that's so fucking anti-Canadian. Listen to our national anthem, listen to what our ancestors fought in wars and died for, listen to why, sit there and think why you would put a poppy on your shirt for Remembrance Day. There are people in the grave right now that fought wars, that ran in the trenches, that are injured just because they fought for freedoms. And we have just taken them, balled them up, and thrown them to the wind in a matter of 18 months. That is why I speak the way that I speak. And some people will have a problem with what I say. I've lost so many followers. I've lost friends. I've had people call me out in ways I don't even want to get into, man. It's just a piss off, because ultimately I want the best for every Canadian citizen. I don't want to spread bullshit or conspiracy theories or blah, blah, blah. I share what I share because I want truth. I want the truth, and I want also less governmental control. If you think there's evidence that mask wearing is effective, then you should have the choice. If you are in a vulnerable population, age group, immunosuppressed person, you want to wear 3 masks at the grocery store, go for it. I'm not going to be the one that's there mocking you. Do what you want to do, right? But when you're mandated to do things, like, for example, like those stats I gave you, man, the 33 deaths from influenza in Newfoundland, and then we got 7 deaths in Newfoundland from COVID. It works to shrink things down to like a microcosm. I've told people, if Newfoundland were its own study, it would just be jarring. You look at numbers like that. You look at, when we had, let's say, an outbreak out in central Newfoundland, so we were all told that we couldn't drive there. I couldn't get in my car and go see my mother because maybe 20 people out in central Newfoundland were infected with this virus. If I was stopped and it was non-essential travel, I'd get in trouble. You know what I mean? Like there was a guy, I think it was Alberta, same kind of scenario where they had jurisdictions where they were whatever hotspots. So this guy was getting in his car to go hike by himself. He was driving to an area to do a hike. He was stopped. fined over $1,000 because it was non-essential travel outside of a jurisdiction. So he does not have the right as a Canadian citizen and a young, healthy man to go get in his car, drive somewhere by himself to do a hike and maybe do some camping because he drove through a hot spot. You know, like, I think when you put it into context, and again, like, people are not contextualizing Ontario's numbers. You know, 411 cases, you hear that number if you're a Newfoundlander and you're like, oh shit, you know, because the most we've ever had in like a day or whatever was about 100. But up there, I mean, they were up to 4,000, but you had the Ontario science table predicting that it could go as high as 10,000 plus daily. It never did, but still 400 right now is 0.003% of their population. So is what we're doing still completely justified? You know, like, and even here we had those cases, that outbreak. I mean, we were locked down for whatever it was, 7 weeks. For example, one of the things that made me bitter, because it really helps me, is I like to go to the gym. So, you know, for 7 weeks, I couldn't go and have my place to vent and let some things out. And one of my coping mechanisms, that was taken away because, you know, 100 people in Newfoundland had COVID or whatever, right? And, you know, when there's a big outbreak, sure, but do it right, not this half-assed lockdown. Or, you know, God forbid, I wouldn't be able to live in Ontario right now. You know, for this past year, their gym has officially been closed, for example, for a year straight. Like, I think they reached 367 days, and I got friends in Ontario being like, God damn it, dude, I just wish I could go to the gym. They see me posting or whatever, or I want to go play a sport or something. And I just feel for those people, right? I've got friends everywhere, and it's bad everywhere.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, and that's the thing. Some people will joke and sometimes say, you know, Canada, 51st state. I know plenty of people here that would smack me if I say that, but like, in some ways, and if it is a 51st state, it's very much a New York or California, and that's where there's a lot of stories of just sadness, like what you're saying here, like not being able to go to the gym. That's one thing I actually wanted to talk to you about, because I know you take your health very seriously, and I've been able to see, guys, go follow Travis. We haven't said this yet. Go follow him on Instagram. Is it just Travis Day?
Travis Day 7.
Travis Day 7. Go follow him on Instagram, guys. You'll see, obviously, he's all about staying in shape, and that's another very fundamental thing that I think Dr. Danger Zone talked about on the show, which is like, look, you take away like the main things that's going to keep anyone healthy, you're obviously going to have illness. So like not being able to go to the gym, not being able to go outside, and not being able to socialize with people, you know, however you want to back that with science, those are the 3 core fundamental things that most humans need to just feel good and be healthy. Sure. So when you take all those away and spread, you know, fear about an illness, then you can easily, like, psychologically just create that, which again ties back to the whole mind control thing. So
I mean, about that. Even like speaking from a nurse perspective of, like, you know, if I were a third party, like looking at this in third person and being like, what do I want you to do if you're like my client or patient or whatever? There are so many things that we've been forced to have to do that are the opposite of the epitome of health. You know, it's for example, here, if you know, they used to post a reference point for, like, if you've been at this restaurant at this time, there was a confirmed COVID case, so you need to self-isolate, call 811 public health, and then go get tested and continue to isolate. So they've changed some of the procedures, but like, I've had friends that were out in Central that had to do the whole quarantine because they were at a place that one of those people tested positive. So then they go get a swab. They get a PCR swab, which I've got some information on that too that I'm not happy with. Yeah. So we'll go for that in a minute. But they'll go and get this PCR swab, and it'll come back, and whatever, it's faster now than it used to be. But you used to wait days for that. But you'll get a negative result, and then you'll call public health or whatever, and they will tell you to still isolate for 48 hours and make sure you have no symptoms. So not only are they telling you you are not allowed to leave your home, like technically you're not even allowed to go through a drive-through because you're putting people at risk or whatever. You get this, arbitrary test in a way to determine whether or not you're infected with COVID. And if you're negative, if you're confirmed negative that day, you've got to wait 2 more whole days where you essentially can't leave your house. I had a girl I was talking to was told by, the same group, like public health or whatever, that she was told that she couldn't walk her dog outside. So like if tomorrow they said, hey, were you at this Walmart on whatever, June 16th? And I'm like, yeah, I was there for an hour. And they're like, at this time, okay, you got to go get a test and quarantine in your house. I'm like, okay, like it feels like you have no right to refuse, first of all. And even if you go get it and you're negative, and then I'm going to be told I can't walk my dog around the block. I mean, I've got a big German Shepherd. That guy needs his walks, right? I'm not allowed to walk him around my own neighborhood. Even if I said, like, what if I stay away from people? They'll say, no, you need to self-isolate with a negative test.
It's an authoritarian figure thinking that they know what's better for you. Than they're treating you like a baby, treating you like a kid, like you aren't smart enough to make that decision.
Yeah, they have no trust that you're going to make a healthy or a good decision. Same thing with the masking. I have immunosuppressed friends for various reasons and conditions and treatments they've been through. They think that they know what's best for them, and so do their families. I mean, sometimes I have people reach out to me and talk about how they butt heads with their families because they don't agree with some of this stuff. It's very divisive, and like I said earlier in the podcast, like, I don't want it to be divisive. I want the truth, and I want everybody to experience and know truth. And it doesn't mean that I'm right about everything I share, or that sometimes the way I put it may not be offensive, or like, raise some alarm bells, or set some people off and think, okay, I'm done. I don't like the way he put that. That's fine. I understand that. I know why some friends have chose to unfollow me and say, dude, I can't do it. You post like 10 things a day. Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, man, like I'm arguably better than I've ever been, because my mindset has shifted where I see problems now that I was naive to years before, and problems with the system and government and different things. And again, arguably better than I've ever been. But I've got friends who, just based on what I say and trying to raise the alarm bells a little bit in the way I do it, that literally are like concerned for me, or they think I'm like going down some crazy rabbit hole. I'm like, a lot of the times I lay this shit out so it's straightforward. There's facts. I'll reference media. I'll underline shit from other people that I think is most important, blah, blah, blah. I'll share doctors' information. Like, I'm all about sharing the other point of view that you're probably not going to see on mainstream news or media or whatever. And that's it. And if, again, I get it if people don't like it, but like, people have been rude and just over the top, man, about that. Like, they're the same figurehead moving with this movement that is trying to silence certain people and their points of view. And again, that's just one of the most unscientific things I've ever seen and witnessed in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, guys, you got to go follow Travis Day 7, aka Travis Day Media, if you're looking to get the truth. Look no further. And I've seen, like, dude, you post consistently. To me, I'm honored and also shocked at the same time that this is your first kind of interview or whatever, because dude, you're built for this. I think just whatever happens moving forward, the fact that you've been able to persevere this long and voice your opinion and attract the people that believe in what you believe. That's really what it comes down to as well. Because I think we talked about it already. Like, at the end of the day, you're not going to make the whole world happy, but as long as you can make your people happy, that's the nation that's most important to all of us. Who's your people? That's your nation. That's your country. And so, yeah. What did you have something else there? Because I do have another question for you here before we wind it down.
Yeah, man. I was just going to say, like, what I referenced earlier in the podcast about Spencer talking about his authenticity. And I would say in the last 2 years of my life, that's been something that's become incredibly important to me is being my authentic self, no matter how weird or striking or out of the box that is, because people try to put you in a box, right? They try to think of me as a nurse, so I think a certain way. I'm okay with all the health restrictions and mask mandates and whatever it is, or vaccines. They try to put you in a box that, wait, you're a nurse, so you think this way? That's not good, or whatever, you know. But I just live my authentic life, and I want the best for everybody, and I want more control to the individual person, more autonomy for them about what they choose to do with their own health, their own coping mechanisms, that kind of thing. You know, I want more onus on the individual, and that comes with more accountability too. I take full accountability and ownership for what I'm standing up for and what that might mean, or what consequences may come. For example, consequences like that doctor, you know, I don't agree with that. That's horrendous, and I think everybody should be outraged about that kind of thing. But I will continue to speak that stuff, you know, that there's this hill that I will die on, and I'm in an occupation where I was preached to during my education about critical thinking and that kind of thing. And then you go and do it, and, you know, you worry if your job is on the line. Like, that's not science. That's not, you know, healthy. That's not good for your mental health. You're worried if you're going to be dragged into a human resources meeting because you said something on Facebook that someone reported you for. Even if you've got a scientific source to back it up, you know, or if you're just stating straight facts, for example, about the vaccine, you know, you brought up about how it's non-FDA approved, that kind of thing. It isn't. It's emergency use authorization for an emergency. For example, if there was any other drug or cure or whatever, cure is a bad word, but you know what I mean? Like, if there's something else that worked really well, those vaccines will be off the market. And there are, hypothetically, things that are coming to the forefront that seem to work very well. There is censorship around, there was for a while around zinc, hydroxychloroquine. There was censorship now currently around ivermectin.
Ivermectin, that's what it was, yep.
Right, India apparently is using that right now. You know, one of the other things, ivermectin is FDA approved. Ivermectin has been rigorously studied long-term for years. Ivermectin is a cheap drug. You can get treatment in India right now where they're treating people for like $3, I believe. So, but if this is the kicker, man, and it's like, I'm not even really supposed to say this shit because of the censorship. That's the way it goes. But, you know, if I share a post about ivermectin's even hypothetical effectiveness, and I share a scientific journal, it will be flagged with that little white sticker down on the bottom that says unapproved COVID treatments may cause serious harm. I'm like, you mean to tell me that this $3 treatment is going to potentially cause me serious harm, so you've got to flag my post, but you're going to promote something with no long-term clinical data that is emergency use authorization only, not FDA approved, and actually has been shown to cause harm.
Dude, you're I mean, it's exactly how I'm looking at this. And then I also have to say this too, and I'm sure you probably agree. It's also not like the FDA is the gold standard either. If anything, FDA is like a C, because there's so many things that aren't FDA approved that I'm confident can either prevent illness, disease, I mean, whatever, you name it. There's so many things out there that can help that aren't being talked about. But anyways, the fact that it's even with what we just outlined and it's still not FDA approved, is like, even if it was, still, come on, guys. So all right, dude, you're the best. Last question is, you know, for all the other medical professionals out there that are starting to raise eyebrows and kind of feel more how you're feeling and wish they could, you know, voice their opinion or kind of just make a stand and just kind of break free and do what real science is that you've communicated, which is actually going out and investigating things without having to worry about getting slapped on the wrist. What is your message to all the other medical professionals out there who feel like they've got, you know, duct tape on their mouth?
Yeah, good question, man. yeah, for anybody that hears this that's in the medical field or knows someone that is, you know, your girlfriend, like all these people that might feel like there's a lot of pressure, and there is, that is not imaginary. I mean, there is pressure on people. There's pressure on me, but I'm just going to continue to speak my truth. And I strongly advise people to do that. I think there's a monster that you know, and there's a monster you don't know. And I think the more that you silence yourself because you're like, I probably shouldn't say that. Oh, it might get me in trouble. That might be flagged. I think you are feeding a monster that you don't know. And whether that's just internally for yourself, because that's something I've noticed there, you know, again, I get criticism for posting 10 stories and going on some hardcore rant one day where I just wake up like there's salt in the wound, you know. But that's who I am, and I don't think I need to apologize to anybody for that, because as I've said before to certain people that have reached out and criticized me, you have a choice to unfollow me, but there's a group of people that like what I post, and it gives them hope that they feel like there's other people that have, you know, like-minded points of view, and you will find a community of people that will rally with you for what you stand strong and believe in the most. And that is a better feeling than ever just sitting there going, I shouldn't post that, and not doing it, and then going about your day knowing that you just cowered your way out of that, you know, that you just backed off and were like, oh no, big tech might censor me, or I don't know if I'm going to be in an HR meeting tomorrow because I said that, or my employer is not going to like that. The whole world has shifted in a matter of 18 months. And if you can't speak about it now, there will come a time where it is too late. And I'm not going to be like some radicalized, like, yeah, like we got to fight. No, it's not that, because I don't want this big divide. I just want truth, and I like to share truth. And if it's the hard truth and it kicks you in the teeth, so be it. I do not care. And it makes me feel better to do that. So that's what I continue to do. And there are days, like I said, if I feed the wrong monster, if I choose, no, I probably shouldn't say that, or, oh, that's huge, that's a heavy hitter, and I just don't want to deal with that, it will bother me. Like my conscience, it will bother me. And I think that grows into green lights for governments, governing bodies, institutions, big tech. It's green lights every time you don't do that, because they realize, oh, he's not going to say a thing. I can do this, and we'll do that tomorrow, because they don't care. They're not saying anything about it. It's fine. So, you know, again, it's stressful taking that path. It is the hard path. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have these big institutions and scary financial corporations and all this kind of stuff. But if you don't, I think it eats at you a little bit. And that's just my calling now. If I feel I wake up one day and it's like, dude, you got to post that, or, you know, you got to live this way today, or bring out your best self. I mean, that's what I'm all about, being as authentic as I can.
Dude, thank you, Travis. And use another keyword or phrase there, which is like, you found your calling. You know, this is your calling, especially in this moment. So I just got to say thank you for all your courage, your leadership, willingness to just do what is not quote unquote cool right now. It is cool as hell to me. So
yeah, there are people that find it cool as hell. So I'm appealing to those people. Like you said, you can't please everybody. And I just want to throw one more thing out there. I do absolutely love my job. I love being a nurse. There's a certain population of people I care for that I love them greatly. And I love to give back to every community, because nursing is a trickle down job. I might care for one age group, one population, but their family sees that, you know, their friends of friends see that. It is an impactful job. And, you know, whether it's I'm home off work on social media saying something that feels truthful and impactful, that's one thing. But when I'm in my job and I'm caring for certain people, I'm giving it my all too, because I want to impact there.
Thank you. I was going to say any closing words or closing remarks. I've got a pen here. I was going to say this mic drop. That kind of summarized it all right there. But yeah, let's bring it back around full circle one more time. Any just words to kind of close this out here today?
No, I think I kind of went for it there. But you know, just to riff on that a little more again, man, I want the best for people. I want the culture to be strong. I want to see culture take a stand and come back and be powerful and fun and, inviting. And the world we've been living in for 18 months is not fun and inviting by any means, especially here in Canada. Canada has shifted in a way that obviously I've never seen. I'm 27 years old. That's not all that old, but what I've seen in 18 months is unbelievable to me. So if we could get back to normal per se, and I'm not saying throw everything out the window, but I'm just saying I want to raise some eyebrows and people to understand that there are places in the world that are getting back to normal and enjoying their lives and, just living it up, and they're not that much worse off, or if not better in some places. So there's evidence for that. So I want to live that way. I want people to be given more autonomy over their decisions. And I certainly don't want all these mandates and digital passports and all this kind of things and potential medical segregation based on who took a needle and who didn't. I mean, that is not what I got into nursing for. And that's not what science is about. So just bringing that back.
Thank you. Hey, you got your dog with you? I know you mentioned your dog.
Yeah, man. I got my boy Zeus. He's on the way.
Okay, cool.
Zeus. Oh yeah, here he is. Zeus, come say hi, buddy.
There he is. That's a good boy. Zeus, what up? What up, puppy?
Oh, hey, Zeus. giving you a little head tilt. Yeah. So. Yeah, cool. Man, he's my world right now, and just working full time, trying to be as healthy as possible, and living my life as best as possible. And this is all part of it, and that's why I appreciate this opportunity. I mean, I've listened to some of your podcasts now, and they've had an impact. So much appreciation going out to you for this as well, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
My pleasure, Travis. Thank you so much, guys. Again, go follow him on Instagram, Travis Day 7. That's the best news channel to follow, especially right now. So give that man a follow. Throw us a like and a subscription too if you haven't already. We love having you here on Dream Chasers. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been episode 162 of Dream Chasers, featuring the man himself, Travis Day. I'm your host, Adam Carswell. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level. Thank you once again for investing your most valuable resource with us here today, your time. If you enjoyed today's episode, please drop a 5-star rating and a review below. Take a screenshot of it and send it over to nextlevel@carswell.io. We have a present for you. We really appreciate you guys leaving those reviews because it really helps with the overall SEO and visibility of the show and allows us to continue to bring on high quality guests. So once again, thank you. And remember, take it to the next level.